good Monday morning. This is President's Day. I think you can get a mattress for cheap today or maybe a new car as well. You got kids off of school. Everybody in the tri-state area goes down to Florida this week. But we stay here, we work, and we talk about sports because there's important things going on in New York sports, like this Daniel Jones contract extension. Oh, baby. Apparently, according to Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post, things got off to a rockier start than expected. He has changed agents, and the agent that he has now is one that has represented quarterbacks who've gotten the biggest contracts in the NFL the last couple of years. So now this is a thing. Do I think he's going to leave? Probably not. But now we've got a thing. Derek Carr was hanging out with the Jets over the weekend. We didn't get any word on really how it went, but of course that is going to continue to be a big story. And we've got basketball coming back. I know your team made a trade. We'll get into that at some point. So everybody's fired up here on this Monday morning. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, G. Yeah, I'm pretty good. You know, I told you, I want to say this about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I thought that Daniel Jones and the Giants were close to a contract.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, things have changed. And the money is, you fire your agent basically because you think you're worth more money, or somebody is telling you offline that you're worth more money than you're willing to accept. That's the only thing that I can think of here. And I would also say to Daniel Jones, it's interesting because they did not pick up his fifth-year option.
That's right.
And so they rolled the dice. They brought in Kafka. They brought in Brian Daboll, and they got the best out of Daniel Jones. And I would give him, if Patrick Mahomes is an A++. Okay, so he's the best player at the position. He's a player that can play hurt and still play effectively and still play at a level that we very rarely have ever seen before this early in someone's career. As a matter of fact, we've never seen it before. So he's the A++ guy. The A+ guy is probably Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow's an A+ guy. I would say that Josh Allen at one point in time this season was an A+ guy. I think Justin Herbert's probably an A guy. Trevor Lawrence, an A- guy. I would probably say Jalen Hurts is an A- guy only because he got hurt. If he didn't get hurt, he'd probably be an A+ guy. And
sure.
He played A+ in the Super Bowl for me. And the point being is that, I think if you are Daniel Jones, you're kind of like a B guy. You're not in that conversation with those guys. I'm sorry, you're just not.
Sure.
And I think Trevor Lawrence is getting to be into that conversation with those upper echelon guys. I think Daniel Jones, for the first 3 years, they screwed him up. Everybody agrees with that. I think the owner agrees with that. We certainly agree with that. You didn't think he would be here after this year?
Nope.
I didn't think that there was really a chance of him being here after this year. And I don't think the Giants thought that either. That's why they didn't pick up that fifth-year option.
Yeah, and I think that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen said, hey, if this works out, that's great for us, but we probably are expecting that it doesn't. And what's interesting is, it was just on Friday we were having this discussion, and I was asking you, is there another team out there that's going to give Daniel Jones that type of money? And we kind of said no. Now, I know that the franchise tag is available to the Giants, but let's not forget, this is one of those things, and we get into the cap maybe too much sometimes, but this is one of those things that's important to know. The franchise tag, if they use that on him, is fully guaranteed against the cap. So all these adding to the roster moves that the Giants want to do to get better and build off of next year become significantly hampered if they have to use the franchise tag, as opposed to getting a long-term deal done, spreading the money out, and creating more cap space to bring in players, because obviously there's a talent issue there.
Oh, man, I love when you talk like this.
I know, I could see
this
you getting
awesome.
Salivating.
I do like this. So you have the franchise tag, but you also have the non-exclusive tag as well.
The transition tag.
The transition, right? Well, you want to call it a transition tag. I will tell you non-exclusive, meaning that, they could tag him at a lower number, and then he can still go out and negotiate with other teams. And then the Giants can match that contract if they want to. If they don't want to, then they receive 2 first-round picks as compensation coming back.
Yeah, and you don't see that. I don't think have you ever really seen that?
We have not seen that. But that's still a fallback position that the Giants could do. And that's, let somebody else negotiate, or let's see what somebody else may want to give him, and we can then let the other team handle it, and then if we like it, then we can actually match it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a gamble worth willing to take if it gets to the point where they don't get close to a long-term deal, because so the franchise tag is $32.4 million, all guaranteed. I believe the transition.
No, it's actually more than that right now, but it may go down. I think it's $42 million. But that franchise tag may go down because it doesn't really kick in. They don't have the number, I think, until April. And the number could actually come down if there are players that restructure their contracts and things of that nature.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means that Daniel Jones could go out and negotiate with other teams, is about $32 million.
Well, yeah, in the Post article this morning, it says right now 29.5. That's what it says for the, and it says 32 and change for the franchise tag, and it says 29.5 for that other tag, the transition tag. So that's where it stands right now, and we'll see if that ends up changing. But this is where it's going to be a game of chicken between these two sides. Now, it shouldn't be, but Daniel Jones and those who are representing him are going to say, wait a second, look at this year that you had. You won this playoff game. You're in your prime. You're hitting free agency. And this is why when you talked about agents being worth their salt or not, or Derek Carr's agent and some of these other agents, I mean, this is why I think Daniel Jones changed his agents, because they need to go to other teams to get some leverage here to drive that number up. And the fact that they haven't done that yet, to me, is I know they're not allowed to, but maybe behind the scenes, they've been talking to people.
Talking behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And by the way, if they would have picked up the fifth-year option, it would have been $22.5 million. Now, that would have been guaranteed.
Yeah.
And you would have had to pick it up, and you would have had to have done it last year before the season. So they rolled the dice, and, he's created a good problem for them. They have a guy that they trust. The question is, much like Baltimore, they have a guy that they trust. What does Baltimore think Lamar Jackson's worth, and what do the Giants think Daniel Jones is worth?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm telling you right now, neither one of those guys, I don't believe, and even though Lamar Jackson has gotten an MVP, I don't believe either one of those guys are in the stratosphere of those other five quarterbacks.
That's right, and I believe that Lamar Jackson wants to get paid like those other guys. Daniel Jones, not quite, but more obviously than the Giants have offered him to this point. But if I'm the Giants, I don't back down from this at all. I mean, I actually think that transition tag is a gamble worth taking, because who is going to want to pay Daniel Jones, $37 million after this transition tag, and then give the Giants 2 first-round picks? Nobody's doing that. So then you get him for a year, $29.5 million, which would be fully guaranteed, which makes things a little bit harder, but it's not the 32.4 that the franchise tag is. I mean, that's something to think about too. But so he changed from CAA, which was his original agents, which is the Brody Van Wagenen group, CAA, to Athletes First. Now, Athletes First has negotiated contracts for Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott. They negotiated the contract with the Browns for Deshaun Watson.
Oh, well, there you go. That's all you need to know.
And Sterling Shepard is represented by Athletes First, and that's one of Daniel Jones' best friends. Matt Ryan is another guy. So
they do that. I'll tell you what, Lamar Jackson should hire them.
Yeah, because he doesn't even he's
have
doing
an agent.
Right, it's him and his mom that are doing it.
And it's ridiculous. I mean, I just I cannot believe that he does not have an agent. It would be worth his weight in gold to get an agent, have the agent in there, arguing for him or demanding trades, speaking for him. I can't even imagine what it must be like speaking to him and his mom. I mean, just really, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have a third party in there. And believe me, they're worth it, as I'm sure those guys that you just listed could all attest to. Oh. That it's worth the 3.5% or whatever percent you're paying to have somebody fighting your battles and getting you to where you want to go, or getting you something that you probably weren't even thinking about. And that's why, you always advocate for the agents. I know that they're maybe the scourge from the fan base's perspective, but they have a very, very important job to protect the interest of their players. And, obviously Daniel Jones didn't think CAA was doing that.
And the other thing about the agent that is critical in these negotiations is you have someone there as the buffer. So when the other side either lowballs you or says something negative about you, the agent sometimes doesn't tell you that to keep the relationship between the two sides as good as it can be, as opposed to when you're doing it yourself, and then now all of a sudden you got bad feelings because the organization, they don't believe in me, they don't like me, look what I've done with that.
It's like when they go into arbitration in baseball.
Exactly. It's a disaster. And then all of a sudden you got the bad feelings, and then maybe he ends up leaving because of it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's just silly not to have an agent in pro sports these days. I don't know why he's doing that, but right now it has not worked out. But I don't envision a scenario where Daniel Jones leaves. I just do feel a little bit validated in the fact that I knew this wasn't going to be as easy as it seemed to be, because there was no reason that he shouldn't shop himself around if possible, because he should be using his leverage, and the Giants should be using their leverage. They'll come together, and I believe he will be here. But like, if he just accepts some contract that was like, all right, we'll pay you $31 million a year, like that's not what Daniel Jones should be doing. He needs to, like, this is his cash-in spot for the rest of his life.
You're right.
This is it. And if you don't maximize that and you just settle, then you're not doing yourself a service, you're doing yourself a disservice, and also other quarterbacks in the league, as we talk about many, many times, will probably be pissed off at him, too.
You tell me who's going to pay Daniel Jones $40 million.
Nobody. I'll tell you right now, nobody.
Let me just go down this list here, all right? Kansas City, Philadelphia, Buffalo, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Ravens.
Yeah, no. So the only teams.
Okay, all right. So, all right.
Well, I've thought about this already to save you the time of not going through all 32 teams.
All right.
All right. So the ones that I thought about were those who miss out on Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. So the Jets probably out of the mix with Daniel Jones. But I think the Raiders are a possibility. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, where are they going to go for a quarterback?
Jimmy Garoppolo, he was with Josh McDaniels in New England.
That is true. But to me, I would take Daniel Jones over Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would. I absolutely would. I know. 100%. I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo at all. I don't think he's committed. Daniel Jones at least stayed healthy last year.
Committed and all that other stuff. All I know is he wins games, and he knows Josh McDaniels. His
well, you do know about his commitment
system.
level because they talked about it, about how this guy just disappeared in the offseason and didn't give him the effort that they wanted, and the team that's desperate for a quarterback is kicking him out of room. You do know about that.
Okay, all right. So we'll say the Raiders are a possibility. Okay.
The Raiders are a possibility, and I believe that the 49ers could be a possibility. Now,
they're not going to pay. They got to pay Nick Bosa a huge contract.
They're a possibility.
Now, I do not.
They would be a possibility.
Not for
you put him on that team.
A $40 million.
They wouldn't pay him $40 million, but a team that might pay them more than the Giants.
By the way, if they do the transition tag, do the 49ers even have 2 first-round draft picks to give up?
Well, the transition tags never happened in the history of the NFL. I don't believe where a team gave up 2 first-round picks.
That's the only way it's going to happen.
Well, not if the Giants decide to let him walk.
They're not going to let him walk.
They could. So it's not the only way it could happen. It could also happen where he hits free agency. The Giants are like, fine, go out there, go get it. We're moving on.
All right, so you're saying there's 4 things that can happen. One would be just cut him, let him go. Not to cut him, just don't re-sign him.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have a contract. His contract's up. Let him go to free agency and don't even worry about it.
That's right.
2 would be the franchise tag. The franchise tag would guarantee him a 1-year salary somewhere north of most likely $35 million.
Yeah.
All right. Then there's the the transition tag, if you want to call it that, the non-exclusive franchise tag, which means that he can go out and he can negotiate with any team that he wants. He can get a contract from said team. The Giants could match that contract if they want to. If they don't match that contract, then basically what happens is that team that does sign Daniel Jones gives the Giants 2 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, very unlikely.
And then the final thing would be some sort of extension that is agreed upon with the Giants and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I would think that the most likely is that they come to a contract extension and an agreement. The second most likely is that the Giants gamble on that transition tag or the non-exclusive tag and call everybody else's bluff and Daniel Jones' agent's bluff, because no one's going to give up 2 first-round picks and pay him that.
And by the way, the 49ers don't even have a first-round pick.
Well, it would have to be in the future, obviously. They have it.
Yeah, but it would have to be this year, though. There would have to be one of them, I think, would have to be this year.
Is that the way it works? I'm not sure.
I believe so.
But that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, that's not happening. Now, if he hits free agency, that's a different story.
That's a totally different story.
Would the Giants run that risk if they get to an impasse with this contract, run that risk of letting him go?
No, that's why I say the transition tag makes the most sense.
Makes a ton of sense.
No, it does. It really does.
Because right. You get that number lower. Now, it is fully guaranteed, and that's whatever it is.
So that total contract number is going to hit the salary cap, and it will have an impact because of the enormity of the number.
Yes.
There's no way, as you said, that they can spread it out over 4 years with signing bonuses and bonuses here and bonus. It's a hard number.
Yeah, which impacts the roster build for Joe Schoen, which is an issue. So it's probably something they don't want to do.
No, I don't think they want to do it either. I think they'd like to come up with some sort of halfway decent medium. But the agent change is interesting.
Yeah,
because these agents are obviously dealing in very, very large numbers for their clients. Mm-hmm. When you think about the amount of money that Matt Ryan has made, the amount of money that Aaron Rodgers is expected to make this year, depending on where he plays. So I laugh. I'm like, are the Jets going to be able to fit $60 million on their salary cap with Aaron Rodgers for 1 year?
Hope they're talking about it, trying to figure it out. So that's why, Daniel Jones will walk in free agency. He'll go somewhere else. Aaron Rodgers will come to the Jets, and then the Jets can trade Zach Wilson to the Giants, and he could be the starting quarterback next year.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.